And then if we can get Ron Paul's H.R. 1207, which is within another bill which has been passed by the House, passed by the Senate, then we can get rid of the Federal Reserve. And if we can do those two things, we can save our country. If we don't do those two things, I hate to contemplate what's going to happen.
The Asian market is falling. One of the girls in Southern California, Bobby's Brigade, comes in and she says that her husband is stationed in Southeast Asia, and he reported just before he went to bed his time that the Asian market was crashing all over the place. Does Mr. Chapman see that ripple effect coming to this part of the world?
Well, I think it's been a while in coming. The Japanese market had started down not too long ago. It's still up considerably from its bottom. It's selling around 10,000 on the Nikkei Dow, and it had a low of about 4,500. And I might bring to your attention in 1991, it was selling for 42,000. So it's come down a long way already over the intervening years, because Japan's been in a depression, and just nobody wants to call it that. China is way overpriced. They've had one correction. They're going to have more in that market, and the real estate market's out of control. And the horse is already out of the barn, running around the fields, so there's no a way of easily bringing him back in again. And so I see real trouble in the Chinese and Japanese markets. The Japanese for one reason and the Chinese for another. And everybody seems to think that they're going to be doing very, very good, and they're not. They just put $1.8 trillion into the economy. It's no wonder it's booming.
Bobby comes back with an added question. Can Mr. Chapman ask us or bring forth to us the difference of why the developed markets of the world are really over risk than those underdeveloped markets?
Well, the underdeveloped markets in stocks have gained, and some of them as much as the European markets in Frankfurt and Paris, and the FTSE in London, and the New York market since March, all of them since March. But I think that people are short-sighted in thinking that the emerging markets can go on their merry way and decouple from the larger markets of the world. They sell to the larger markets. If the larger markets have problems, they're going to have problems, particularly in their bond markets. And so I wouldn't put my money there. People have made money there in the last 6 months, but they made money everywhere. Even gold was up 25% last year. And which is a heck of a lot better than most markets did. Most of them were up on the year, but marginally so. So emerging markets, to me, are not a place to be at this time. The world is in serious trouble. And I don't think, at least with my money, that I'm going to go into any stock market. The only exception is gold and silver shares.
From New York City, I don't know if it's really New York City, but the area code appears to be from New York City. Gentleman writes in, it says, Mr. Chapman, as you very well know, the job market around America is supposedly increasing, but in actuality, I feel that we're being fed a lot of deceptive information. The Fed specifically is very deceptive. Unemployment figures are really up, And the lies are saying that, well, we expected a number of jobs to go down because of the Christmas layoffs of employees. The bottom line is, Mr. Chapman, there wasn't that big of a hire of part-timers for the Christmas job market or job season. Now we're getting the real truth, and the deception of the Fed is so powerful that we see $13 trillion has been spent into the government or the marketplaces and manipulated by these deceptive people. Mr. Chairman, my question is to you: can you talk about what these crooks are going to do, if they possibly can do anything else to make things worse for us? And how bad is inflation going to get?
Well, first of all, you're not going to have deflation for a while because they still got too much money in the system. Even though M3 has come down from 17 to 18% to 5 or 6%, they've been spewing out the $13 trillion that the writer was talking about. So we've got plenty of inflation in the pipeline, not deflation. Although deflation is there, but it's being subdued by the inflation that's being created by the Federal Reserve. The inflation by the end of the year, I believe, will be 14% plus, and that's certainly not good. And I think the government will probably admit to something around 5%, like they did about 2.5 years ago. And they can't tell the truth about anything. As far as employment's concerned, you're right. Unemployment is growing. It's continuing to grow. And the figures of unemployment are getting smaller. The losses are smaller. And that's good, but it still hasn't gone away, and it's not going to. And if the administration doesn't get another stimulus package, it's going to be very bad. And that's only going to carry them another 6 months. And I think they'll get one because they get an election coming up, and a lot of people in office want to get reelected. And so we really have unemployment at 22.5%, and in the Depression it was 25%. And so we're very, very close, in spite of the talk that comes out of Washington and Wall Street. We're going to have inflation. We're going to have hard times. It's hard for people to stand around looking for work, even part-time work, and they can't get any. And they see bonuses for hundreds of billions of dollars being given out by banks that the American taxpayer just bailed out, and those banks are still insolvent, believe me. And so we're up against a real problem here, and it's not going to go away. And so that's why I tell people, if you have wealth, you buy gold and silver-related assets. After you put away freeze-dried and dehydrated foods and have a water filter and something to protect your family. And sooner or later, this whole thing's going to fall apart. And you don't want to be one of the people who ends up with nothing.
From London, Mr. Chapman, we all understand as Americans that the federal audit in the United States would be a good move. Do you think that they're going to be able, the Congress of the United States is going to be able to force the Fed to be audited?
Well, the House has passed legislation which includes 1207, and now it's up to the Senate after the first of the year to vote on it or protest about something that's in it that they don't like. They usually have a joint session to do that. But I think it will pass, and I think by June, July, August of this year, that what's going to happen is that the public's going to start finding out what the Fed has been doing for sure. And that's going to be very bad for the Fed because it's going to probably be put out of business.
Mr. Chairman, the probability of a crisis will be building throughout 2010. When do you think the crisis is really going to come to head?
Well, those kind of predictions are very difficult. I've said earlier that I believe that the